Human relationships are quite simple. We have made those relationships more complicated by obsessing about pleasure and romance. The truth is that men and women both seek relationships to produce children. Our compulsion, whether we are aware of it or not, is the continuation of the species. Obviously, women have a window of opportunity that really begins to close at 30 and certainly becomes much more difficult at 35. So women in reality have to have their lives sorted out by the time they're 30. Men, of course, do not have that restriction on them, and therefore they have more time to sort their lives out. They have perhaps another 10 years in which to arrive at the place they need to be in order to raise a family. I would say for both sexes, it's vital that they make the best use of the years between 15 and 21. Those are the crucial years in your life. Those years and how you use them are going to define your future life. Those years need to be spent working hard towards whatever goal that you've set. Now, of course, it's not easy at 15 years old to know exactly what you want to do with the rest of your life, but you must have at least a general idea as to what career path you wish to follow. Whether that is going to university to be a doctor or a lawyer, or to go to a practical school to become a mechanic or some other practical career. You have to have at least a general idea which path you're going to follow. And you have to be making that choice for your own reasons. You shouldn't make the decision, for example, to become a doctor because one of your parents was a doctor. You have to have your heart and soul invested in whatever career path you're going to follow. Following someone else's path will only lead you to resent that person. It's also important, if possible, to have someone in your life who is going to act as a mentor, who is going to help you through that process. Again, whether that's a parent or a friend, an older brother, whatever it is. If you have someone in your life that you can lean on, that can help guide you through those years, then that will be of a huge bonus to you. Now, when it comes to relationships, specifically for men, you have to be very honest with yourself about your physical appearance. When you're 17 or 18, you have to have a long, hard look at yourself and make an honest assessment. Are you good looking? Are you average looking? Are you less than average looking? If you're good looking or even average looking, become the best version of yourself that you can be. Dress well. Go to the gym, exercise, work out. You will then find it much easier to get into relationships, even short-term relationships. Being born good looking will open a great many doors when it comes to relationships. You have good DNA. That is very attractive to women. But even so, you should still work hard, still build a career to make yourself, again, more attractive. Remember that we work as men to attract and to retain women. That's why we work. We don't work for any other reason. Unless, of course, you happen to be really fortunate and do something that you love. But fundamentally, we work to attract and to retain a mate. Now, if you're not attractive, if you're not good looking, you have no real alternative, unless you're born wealthy, but to work really hard. Get the education that you need, whether it's a practical or a university education. Even if you're a mechanic, you could still own your own business. You could still become wealthy from your own business, working as a mechanic or as a plumber or whatever else. But don't expect during those years of building a business or building a career to have easy access to relationships. More than likely you're going to find relationships difficult until probably you're in your early 30s. Then you may have the house, the car, the business, the bank balance that is going to attract women. Women want resources as well as DNA. So you may find yourself in your mid-30s attracting the women that would not look twice at you when you were in your 20s. So don't believe that you will never find someone if you're not particularly good looking in your late teens. What that means is you're just going to have to take a different road. Now, women have, you could say, the unfair situation in which, in the sense that they have to have their lives resolved by the time they're 30. This is very important. Feminists will say that women can play as hard as men in their 20s, but that's not true. Now you can say that's unfair to women, and maybe it is, but the fact is, nature really doesn't care about fairness. Nature simply cares about the reproductive facts. I would say to women, don't waste your time in your 20s on men that are not appropriate for relationships, long-term relationships. We know for a fact that the more sexual partners a woman has, the harder it is for her to pair bond. Don't waste that energy and that time on men that you can't see having a lasting long-term relationship with. It is going to make it more difficult for you to pair bond, but also you're going to waste time on those men that you could spend much better on more appropriate men. The feminist line is that you can put off having children almost indefinitely, that there will always be a tomorrow. The fallacy is that women can behave just like men, and there's great temptation to do that, because when a woman is in her 20s, her sexual market value is high. A man's sexual market value might be low in his 20s. So a woman has a lot of choice. There are many men that will want to be with that woman. Now women will say, that's not true, I found it difficult to be with a man. Well, that is most likely because women will disregard men that are not at or above their social and income status. It's also unfair that as women have gone to university and got higher education and higher paying jobs, that the talent pool has diminished. Again, women marry up. So a woman that has a high paying job now needs to find a man who also has a high paying job. But women still have, in general, more options than men. But once a woman hits 30, then the situation begins to reverse, and women will then have to settle for a man that she would not have settled for in her 20s when her sexual market value was higher and his was lower. So to sum up, a woman has to have her life resolved by the time she's 30. She has to be with a man that she wants to raise a family with, someone who is suitable to raise a family with. A man has more time to find a woman of that kind. And of course, because men marry down, in some ways that process is easier for a man than a woman who is seeking a man that's at least on her socio-economic level. That's not to say that women can't have high-paying careers, but ultimately, again contrary to the feminist line, a woman does have to make compromises. If you want that high-paying job, you are going to have to compromise in terms of family. Even if you do have a family, you will not be able to see the children as much as you would like. So I'm not saying that women shouldn't do these things, but before you make that decision, you have to understand the consequences, and you have to accept the consequences. It isn't possible to have it all. You must make a conscious decision as to which compromise you're going to make. Are you going to compromise your career, or are you going to compromise your family? Men don't have that great a decision to make because biologically we're programmed to provide rather than to nurture. So you could say that it is uniquely unfair on women, but again, nature does not care about fairness.